No, we do.
Right when I press it.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm not now. Put granola bar in my mouth, sorry. All right. All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 9:07. If, do we do the pledge first?
Let's first.
Pledge first. All right, let's stand, rise for the pledge together. Thank you.
Wavy flags going.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Good morning. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Ms. Bagley.
Here.
Ms. Bailey. Here. Ms. Bonke. Here. Ms. Franklin. Mr. Gordy. Ms. Hayes.
Here.
Ms. Holmes. Mr. Carantonis. Ms. Luna. Presente. Mr. McLaughlin.
Here.
Ms. Mensing.
Here.
Mr. Stork.
Here.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Here.
Dr. Young. Present. And Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Ms. Hayes and Mr. McLaughlin have requested to participate in the meeting remotely. Ms. Hayes is participating from home for a medical reason, and Mr. McLaughlin is traveling and participating from Ireland. What time is it? Oh, no, he's ahead. There being a quorum physically present, do I have a motion and a second to allow Ms. Hayes and Mr. McLaughlin to participate electronically?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Lamb, did you catch who that
Who
was?
second?
Sure.
Ms. Linda?
Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Ms. Hayes and Mr. McLaughlin, welcome electronically. We'll begin with a safety moment. Rich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a reminder, we're still in that, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, we're still in that season. I will once again emphasize sensible shoes in this inclement weather. And even though we all collectively do our best to keep sidewalks and all that type of stuff clear, I will not call out and embarrass Dallas this time, nor will I take my shoe off this time, because I
We
think
appreciate
you guys
that.
all get the message. But anyway,
We still remember.
you still remember? Okay. But also just wanted to point out, as part of our safety moment as well, we have made requisite assignments. I've got primary 911 back there, Dallas. Backup is going to be Nick, and I believe myself and, oh, there he is, Joe. Myself and Joe will be primary AED, CPR. We are certified, qualified, and, but just hope to not have to use those skills, but will if we need to. That's my safety moment, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. You've all were provided the agenda in advance. I'll entertain a motion to.
moved. Second?
All those in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I should be calling out. Mr. McLaughlin, do you vote in favor?
Yes, in favor.
And Ms. Hayes?
Yes. Aye.
Awesome. All right. Any objections? Any no's? Okay, the agenda is approved unanimously. We will move on to approval of the minutes from the January 17th, 2025 VRE Ops Board meetings. Does anyone have corrections or amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Before approval, Madam Chair.
And a second. I heard Miss Dr. Young was a second over here. All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Hayes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
And all those in the room in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are adopted. Moving right along to chair's comments. VRE will participate in the Valley Shanters 42nd Annual Parade in Alexandria. On Saturday, March 1st, I am very excited to have the VRE float come to my town. The parade begins at 12:30 in Old Town. You all are invited, and I will be there with bells on and all whatever else the float has for me. But it's a great day, and I would encourage you to come and visit and support VRE or just visit Alexandria. Also, the Operations Board has 6 standing committees. Board members are invited to serve on up to 4 of them if you really want to achieve. There is the CEO CLO Evaluation Committee, Finance, Legislative, and Nominating. Members of the Executive Committee comprise the Audit Committee. With the exception of the Executive and Audit Committees, which have been updated to reflect last month's change in board leadership, the other committees reflect 2024 membership at the moment. So unless I hear otherwise from individual board members, you'll retain your existing committee memberships. And so if anybody wants to speak now, Dr. Young,
I would like to be on two,
which ones?
finance and nominating.
Oh, great, okay. So clerk, if you could.
Finance and budgetary, it doesn't matter, I don't know.
Okay.
It's me more.
Finance and, I'm sorry.
Legislative
Or nominating.
Okay.
So we'll connect with you to confirm sort of those meetings and and when they're going to be planned to meet. Anyone else who wants to change or be added?
I really appreciate Ms. Young because said that there's someone else willing to serve on the nominating committee. I would be happy to step down from it.
Wait, how many people do they need?
Well,
We need at least one at the time.
I'm just trying to show you have to stand.
Well, no, I mean, we need one more before Mr. Walkinshaw could step down from that one.
Sorry,
all
Harry.
right.
I will, I'll connect with our newer member and see about which committee you'd like.
Forget it.
I'll wait. I'll wait because I really want to.
I know nominating, ven conmigo.
Yeah.
She wants nominating.
Let you up there.
So, we'll add, Ms. Vega? Luna, I'm so sorry, Luna. The card is turned and I don't have everybody's name. There you go. Thank you. Vasquez Luna. We will add her to nominating much for your service on that. And if anyone else, again, wants to be considered to change or add, just follow up with us. Okay, thanks for that. We will move on to the CEO report.
We will, but if I may, while we're here, just to remind folks that, and even for the new members and stuff, so we will send you for each committee and stuff, we have a 1-pager, 2-pager, if you will, kind of highlights the committee, what does the committee do, what's the role, responsibility, roughly when the committee will meet throughout the year and stuff like that. So expect that between now and the next operations board meeting. So. Okay, with that, moving to my report. I will attempt to be concise, but you know how that goes. First off, a safety topic, just wanted to highlight once again, very important, as they all are, our coordination, collaboration with our various jurisdictions as it relates to and specifically with first responders. This one you may have seen before. It's about this time each year where we bring the puppies out to VRE. This is specifically Capital Metro Police and their canine units and stuff. So we are able to bring them out to Broad Run. Once again, led by our safety and security manager, Charlotte Norris, and others participated in that. So this gives those teams an opportunity not only as a first responder, but they work with their dogs and stuff like that, navigating our equipment and just getting them used to the railroad environment. So just wanted to call that out. Good event, a little cold, but good event. Second, on-time performance, still below target of 90%, but the month of January, dialed in at that 84%. You'll see here, still looking at, actually this one, we're still looking at, still congestion out there, kind of a broken record. We did encounter in January, though, we did have some switch and signal issues, partly coming out of Washington Union Terminal, partly up and down the system. And of course, those were, I believe a couple of those were actually tied right around the inclement weather piece. So kind of went together a little bit, but nonetheless, still working to get to our minimum objective of 90%.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
Mr. McLaughlin, did you have a question on that slide?
I just wanted to point out that we've been working with Amtrak and they did some work in October and November on the weekends. to help with some modernization issues at Union Station. They'll be doing so again in the coming months in February. They took a break during the holidays. So I know these are small pieces to try to fix the congestion problem at Union Station, but we are working with them, Rich is in some of the meetings as well, to try to convince them to keep doing more of this. And it also helps that it doesn't hurt VRE trains when they do it on the weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
Rich, when was
Yeah.
the last time, I can't remember back on all of your reports, when was the last time we actually saw 90%?
It's been about a year and a half,
Okay,
system-wide.
okay.
System-wide.
And did we stay at 90 for a couple of months, or just was it a 1 month?
It's the best I can recall. This has
Okay.
actually been ongoing now for, as you know,
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll go back and get that exactly.
No, that's good. Too many other important things, that's not important.
And once again, just, from the congestion standpoint, just a breakdown as it relates to freight train congestion, Amtrak, we do have the DC Union Station category, as Mike just alluded to there. And I'll concur that actually that work, they had some outages at the end of January that actually extended into February, and you'll see a couple of those show up in next month's report. But nonetheless, it's positive work, capital maintenance work, and we should yield the benefits of that. But it's just we gotta endure the pain, I guess. Ridership for the month of January, 21 service days, a little bump up from December, but I do want to point to the fact that about, I will say 65%, 68% of that total ridership came the last 2 weeks of the month. The first 2 weeks of the month was, as you recall, we entered the new calendar year with some severe weather and stuff. I mean, we had the first couple of weeks, our total ridership barely hit 11,000 total for the week. And some of that was we canceled trains. The first 2 weeks was a mess, if you will. But the last 2 weeks has, really is the bulk of that ridership. And of course, that's reflected in our average daily ridership. I will tell you that, and some of you I've talked to already because you've asked, this week we have seen, we've hit our highest ridership days that we've seen since pre-COVID and stuff. We hit 10,500 Tuesday, a little over 10,000 on Wednesday, just a little south, I think, of 8,800 yesterday. So, but if we could string some days together without winter weather and stuff, we can start seeing some trending and stuff. I don't have anything relative to trending, peak of the week or anything like that. Let's let this ride for a couple of months before we get a clear picture of where things are headed. My suggestion anyway. Just wanted to state that we did participate earlier this week, as we have done consistently for the last months, years, if you will, at various commuter fairs. I just want to give this as an example. We talked before about, marketing efforts, public outreach efforts and stuff like that. We have a team on the left, the team there that goes and stands up booths and participate directly. They go into different agencies, work with their benefits coordinators. There's a lot of work that goes on that front. And also just wanted to give a shout out to our partners on the right there. If you notice, we're strategically located with our partners at OmniRide. So we do collaborate together to provide folks options in the region. Did want to speak real quick. Earlier this week, we did have a major project milestone at the Manassas Park parking garage. A couple of pictures there. That the major milestone was the beams were set for the pedestrian overpass, which connects the parking garage to the station platform. I'm going to pause here for a second. Stare at the screen. I've got a 10-second time lapse, but if you blink a couple times, you'll miss it. of setting the beams. I do want to set the stage though. If it doesn't look like it's cold, it's really cold out there. They did this in the middle of the night. It's still technically under an active railroad, which they were holding trades on either side, but nonetheless, it just, an operation like this, you talk about, safety protocols and stuff like that, and the team, performed this flawlessly. So if you're staring at it, here comes the time lapse.
Yay.
Awesome.
How much time was that?
It was about 8 seconds or 10 seconds. Oh, I wasn't trying, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to do that. That was over, I'll just remind Dallas, over the course of.
About 11 p.m. to about 5 a.m.
Yeah, okay.
6 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
About 25 degrees.
So just, again, a shout out to not only the teams, but, the partnership that we have with the City of Manassas Park staff, who are just like, I mean, it's almost like in some cases, you can't tell them apart from us anymore in this project. They're really, really have gotten a lot of good support from those folks over there. So we, pass that along if you would. Good team over there. It's a good project. That is my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Dalton. Next, we'll move on to Virginia Railways Express riders and public comment. Have we received any additional public comments?
Madam Chair, we received 3, this morning, which I have forwarded to the board, and I will attach with the minutes.
Has everybody received those in their inbox? And it just landed like in mine, really like 20 minutes ago. So if you have questions or follow-up, I will note there was one of them is inquiring about any additional trains given federal return to work. And I would just comment, no, but we have capacity ready and waiting for anybody who needs the train service, that we are running full operations with seats for people going back to work.
We absolutely, we have saved you a seat if you're returning to the office and stuff.
Madam Chair, I have a question that actually was probably for your report, Rich, but
yeah.
In the packet for the parking at Backlick Road, it looked like there were more parkers than there were spaces available. And I was just wondering if with return to work, is that also being addressed?
Well, that report too, there's some lagging information and stuff there. We've been having some most recent conversations. If you don't mind, let me just take 60 seconds on this, because I don't want to, obviously with, yes, as ridership increases, parking becomes, a focus of ours again. I will say the only parking that I am even slightly concerned about right now is the city of Fredericksburg. Okay. I was having a conversation with one of our board members yesterday on the phone, and as soon as I dropped off the phone, it just reminded me to look, and actually the city of Fredericksburg showed at capacity yesterday. Okay, so, but I want to draw your attention to the fact that that's why months ago we stood up, we have a design out there. We want to go and we do have the overflow parking. That's not counting the overflow parking there, that gravel lot that's just south of the G lot there. So I want to, push forward. We do have that captured in our budget and stuff like that. So that's going to be the first one, or one of the most pressing parking spaces. And I will say too, I mean, we don't track the city lot, but the city lot's full too. That's or near capacity. That's adjacent to the station there. So anyway, I just wanted to set that out there. That's my concern.
Garage, that's just a blocker.
Well, and and we will start pushing people to the garage. We'll start messaging, getting people to the garage, but
easy block.
and that'll buy us some time, if you will, to we can continue to have cars parked in the gravel lot as an overflow lot and stuff like that, but in inclement weather like this, that lot's a mess, right? And it's hard to keep maintained. So anyway, I just wanted to.
Yeah, Dr. Young, you have a
Address
question?
Madam Chair, I don't know if you saw that Michelle McLaughlin had her hand
Oh,
raised.
did he? Mr. McLaughlin, did you have a comment on that?
New Fredericksburg resident, I will point out that the secondary staircase that was added as part of the Fredericksburg improvements makes that parking lot feel a lot closer. That's further railroad south. So that's come in handy for those who may need to park over there. So it doesn't feel as remote as it used to be. It's only about a block, barely even a block away from the new staircase.
That's great feedback.
782 steps without the staircase.
Whose steps though?
Mine.
So I have a few more.
Dr. Young, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question was on the document. I was not going to mention it, but since you mentioned Fredericksburg, on one of the slides, you had that there was a delay, and the delay was not, it was 30 minutes from destination. So I wasn't sure if the destination meant AM or PM. How are we to interpret that? So one of the PowerPoint, it's about the delay to or from, I didn't see it on here. So it was in the
Not
packet.
here.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
one
okay.
of the slides, so it's okay. I just wanted to make sure. It says 30, there's no delay. The delay was 30 minutes from destination, but it didn't say, was it to or from? So that. was
Okay,
one.
if I could, we could, yeah, let me
And
look.
then, I know we received a letter. I don't know if everybody received the letter, but we could talk about it either after board comments. I want to address that about the smart scale
Okay,
project specific to Stafford County.
perfect.
Okay, well, we're going to move on then to our action items. We've got 3 action items before us today. The first being item 9A, authorization to issue a GEC 8 task order for environmental and engineering design services for the Manassas Station Improvement Project. If Rich could introduce the item.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As stated, we're seeking authorization to issue a task order and the amount stated in the resolution plus a contingency for a total amount not to exceed $986,920. So this is the Manassas Station. This has been on our in our CIP for several years now. This is part of the Manassas Capacity Expansion Program. Couple of things I just want to set up, and it's not like we've been like intentionally ignoring this. It's a couple of things have happened. We've developed a concept, and a concept being there's different elements with the trying to match the objective of overall safety of the station, both from train safety, pedestrian safety, people safety, all that type of stuff, accessibility, and well, those are the major categories there. Worked on some concepts, and then of course, as we started into the Manassas line purchase last year, we paused. We wanted that transaction to occur. So we've updated the concept, and again, concept, there's different elements in this project. For example, there's some additional or some platform lengthening. There is some walkable paths that provide some, I'll say, barriered protection for sidewalks against the right-of-way. There's a proposed sidewalk from a surface lot that folks will use to come to the station, but they have worn their own little path along the right-of-way, so we want to take that away. And just a couple of different elements. Again, what this is going to do for us, now this formalizes it. We can take the concept, we'll have the design team on board, working closely not only with VPRA and to some degree NS, but more specifically to the city of Manassas. We were able to brief Ms. Luna on this earlier this week. And so this is the next step with that. I wanted to go a little long-winded there just to kind of give the background and the history a little bit of why this one was paused. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Any questions or comments on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
All right, second from Ms. Bonke. Any further discussion on item 9A? If not, Ms. Hayes, do you vote in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
All those in the room in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 9B, authorization to execute a Microsoft volume licensing agreement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're seeking authorization to execute a Microsoft volume license agreement, again, in the amount stated in the resolution plus a contingency. Our current 3-year agreement will expire at the end of the month. Just from a comparison standpoint, the previous 3 years in total cost, including the contingency compared to the next 3-year projection, our next 3-year projection is about 4.7% increase. There was some puts and takes. There's some licenses that we don't need anymore. There's some licenses that we do need. One of the major elements that we've added to this is we've changed or we're modifying our strategy on how we do recordings of security cameras at our stations. So instead of essentially piping the security footage to our headquarters and then record it, we found with the updated security camera systems and stuff like that, there's just not enough bandwidth to do that. So now we're going to go and put NVRs at each location, record at each location, so we can remove that bandwidth issue. So that was, if there was a major plus, that's where that major plus is at. So, and the team did take into account and of course, always looking out for the best interests of VRE. In this next 3-year period, we did get an extra day in the 3-year contract there at no cost. So good job of recognizing that and getting that in the contract as well. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
We love saving money.
Yeah.
Thank you. Move for approval.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Vasquez Luna. Any discussion on item 9B? All right, Ms. Hayes, how do you vote on the pending motion?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
And all those in the room in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 9B passes. Item 9C, authorization to issue an invitation for bids for Manassas Park Station parking lot milling and paving.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it is what the title says. We're just seeking authorization to issue an invitation for bids. Just to give you an idea, I do have a picture here. To the top end of it is the top of that parking garage, but on the south end is a surface parking lot. And it's actually larger than most people think. If you just look out the window, train goes by.
It says 3.5 football.
Yeah, it's actually pretty. Anyway, because I've had some questions going, wow, I didn't think that thing was that big. So I thought I'd show a picture of it here. One of the things, though, of course, would have liked to get in there probably 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and done some of the milling and paving, but because of the construction project, and if you notice, you might not notice, but at the very right, inside that yellow box and stuff area there, that we've actually had to convert that over to a construction laydown area. So it just didn't make sense to go out and, effectively spend the money and then come back and have to repair all that. So I'm not going to say we deferred it. I mean, it's safe and everything like that. But as far as our schedule goes, we did push it out a little bit. So there's some additional, I don't get technical with it, but some additional milling and stuff that we would have to do for this lot that we would normally not have to do. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Any comments or discussions on this item?
Sure, I think Mr. McLaughlin.
Oh, thank you. Mr. McLaughlin, any comment?
No comment.
Anyone in the room, any comments or questions on this item? And so this project, though, is going to finish this year, both the parking garage itself but this work will probably carry into next year?
Our plan is to have it done this year. So we're marrying it up with the completion of the parking garage, similar to what we did at Quantico. We married the parking rehabilitation with the station project there. So we want it all to come together. And from a life cycle maintenance standpoint, it's nice to marry those things up.
All right, well, that's exciting for Manassas Park. I'll entertain a motion on item 9C. Any second?
Second.
All right.
Okay, second, I don't mind.
We have a motion from Ms. Mincing and a second from Ms. Bailey. Ms. Hayes, how do you vote on the motion?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
All those in favor in the room?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 9C passes. Moving on to our information items. Item 10A is an update on transforming rail in Virginia. And to hand that over to Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just what we want to do here is essentially start the new year off with, or I get it, we're in February, but essentially start doing some table setting here and provide, you know, some context and some forward looking, if you will, projections and stuff on things that this operation board is likely to see this year. So we thought we'd start back with transforming rail in Virginia, and just because that's, you know, that's a lot of what we're tied to, if you will, from a service enhancement standpoint and stuff. But so I just will say, we're going to start here. We'll come back periodically throughout the year, refer back to this, but I'm also we're going to leap right in. My objective this year is, because we have a lot of transactions, a lot of, you know, procurements, contracts, all sorts of different things going on, is to try to give you as much heads up as possible, and not just at the operations board meeting, but I'm going to utilize my weekly report to you. So my objective is to be perfect at this, but we strive for excellence, not necessarily perfection. But I just don't want you surprised when you come into an operations board meeting going, wait, I haven't heard about this project in a while. So I'm going to try to stay ahead of that. So we'll do some table setting here, remind folks what transforming rail in Virginia, and then the next one, we're going to focus on the LaFont Station 4-track project. So Dallas and Nick are going to take the first part, and then you guys can introduce the next part as well. So anyway, that's the objective here, is to try to remind folks, and for Ms. Luna, give you a sneak peek at some things that's coming ahead as well. So with that, I'll hand over to Dallas Richards.
Thank you, Rich. And thank you, Chair, members of the board. Appreciate your time this morning. Looking forward to sharing with you. As Rich shared, that it's a refresher for some and new to others, but we want to make sure you understand what TRV is and how it benefits VRE. I'll start with, and it's again 2 parts. I'll take the what and Nick will take the how, so if you will. The TRV, Transforming Rail in Virginia, as it's known, is a $4+ billion statewide program. So what I'm showing you here is just the Northern Virginia portion. There's more throughout the state. In fact, all the way to Roanoke, Christiansburg, and down into North Carolina, there's initiatives. It created the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority in 2020, VPRA, as Mike represents here. It purchased portions of the right-of-way, and I'll get into that a little bit. Multiple stakeholders are contributors to this and party to it: CSX, VRE, Amtrak, and others as well along the corridor. Numerous capital projects. That's really a lot of what we're stood up, right? These multiple capital projects you can see at, and I know the font is small. It's not the point to show the individual projects. The magnitude, the cluster of the number of projects. And the new Long Bridge sort of is the jewel of the crown, if you will. That is the major crossing of the Potomac River. We refer to it as some of the 6-mile bridge because it's also north all the way up to LaFont. It's essentially elevated along bridge. Really what I want to point out from this slide, though, in this graphic is, you may ask, why show it all the way to Richmond and Ashland? What does a siding in north of Ashland have to do with VRE, right? It's all about capacity. It's all about that fluidity. If a train can be on time 60 miles out, it's on time, it's more likely to be on time when it gets in our service area. And that's how these projects dovetail and work together. Looking at this, you think of all these projects and how they work together, and we'll get to that in a moment. TRV has stated objectives, stated benefits, right, for the program, capacity being the main one. And I'll point out from that graphic, right, how this works and what they purchase, right, is half the right of way. They split the baby, so to speak, right? South of Lorton and south, they purchase the east side of the right of way. Lorton North, they purchase the west side. Just so happenstance that predominantly our stations are on the east and the south of Lorton and on the west north of Lorton. So it works very nicely with how our service is flows. And there's a bypass bridge that takes them over the corridor at Lorton. I call it that inflection point and where the ownership changes sides of the right of way. So it's a very useful in the sense that it gets that ownership to the right side. That gives us the fluidity, and it will predominantly, not exclusively, but predominantly, it will separate the passenger service and the freight service. It cannot be exclusive. It will not be exclusive, but it will be predominantly passenger service on the VPRA owned portion, predominantly freight on the CSX owned portion of the right of way in this case. So think of it in that sense, but also adding trackage and other pieces to it. The big one being, for instance, we'll have two-sided platforms from L'Enfant south. Like we'll have 2 platform edges and 4 tracks from L'Enfant, Crystal City, Alexandria, where the predominant train movements are north of AF. Next, I want to show you our equivalent map, if you will. This is our CIP map. The projects are not the same, but the cluster of them, right? The magnitude of these projects that you see on here, right? The TRV corridor includes both lines now, including with the Manassas line purchase and the Fredericksburg line purchase, right? They go together as part of the statewide program. And we have many places where we overlap. You've seen this graphic before, probably from Rich and others, but and it changes over time, right? It shows you what we're doing. We're changing from, green to orange when we go from design to construction and get these things completed out. There are a few key projects. And the point I really want to make about this graphic and those projects, all the ones on theirs and all the ones on ours, none of them are mutually exclusive. You only get the full benefit of any one of them by all of them being there. That dual-sided platform at L'Enfant only works if you have 4 tracks. Long Bridge only works if you have a total of 4 tracks getting across that choke, the river. And that's where they really complement one another. And the ones you see here, right, those are the ones, L'Enfant, Crystal City, Alexandria, Seminary Yard, recent add, and Franconia Springfield, all of them north of Lorton, that side, that west side of the right of way, and very important projects to us. So knowing there are projects is one thing, but knowing when those projects are taking place is another. I just want to show you it's a schedule, Gantt chart schedule. We've started assembling this program delivery schedule. So it's not showing just one project schedule, although we basically roll it up from all the project schedules. But this one shows all of them. And the point to this one is there is a cluster of these projects in the next 3 to 5 years. Almost all of this work has to be completed by 2030. And so you'll see these projects. And it's not just the projects. I want you to understand all the things that happen before it comes to the board. There are agreements for funding agreements. There are utility agreements. There are property agreements. There are permitting licenses. Well, all these things that happen in the background before the board ever sees it. And you see some of those deliveries, right? Coming for a task order, coming for an RFP, coming for an IFP. Every one of these requires multiple board approvals to get to the delivery, right? You saw some of that at Manassas Park. We're proud of that, but it took a lot of steps, right, to get to that point, and a lot of people playing a lot of roles along the way. And to see, and we've been historically delivering 1Z, 2Zs per year. We're going to see 5Z, 6Zs in delivery in some of the next coming years. I just wanted you to see and understand the magnitude of that. So I'll pause before I pass it over to Nick.
May I ask a question? Thank you for the presentation. As I'm looking here, it says extend platform and add second platform, and there's 3 little green little boxes there. Does that mean with that extension that there's more coming out?
Slide.
Oh, sorry. Slide backwards, sorry.
It's under the.
There you go. Yeah.
See down where it says extend platform, and Quantico is down at that up at Rolling Road and down south at Fredericksburg.
Those are the completed ones. The green boxes are the completed ones.
Okay.
Yes. Green in the legend there, the greens are the most recently completed ones. So Rolling, Lorton, Monaco, soon add Manassas Park to that list. Fredericksburg, right, will be added to those. We'll update this, but we keep going from, planning to design, design to construction, construction to completion. And we're working our way through these projects.
So there's no addition, that's.
No, that was just, that the green is the completion.
We just wanted to spike the football a little bit
Yeah.
longer on those completed projects, because
Thank you.
Ms. Bonke?
So, Rich, in light of the memo that you sent out, I think it was yesterday, thank you for that, on the Leland project and how you tried to optimize the smart scale money and everything. If we, and I don't know who I should ask this question of, if we decide, because we've really pulled back on those parking spaces from 300 to 30, that's a pretty big shift. And you indicated that it is justified based on projections and everything. If we had to make some changes and that our projections end up not being accurate for some reason, where do we have flexibility in our schedule here with all these other projects to kind of bob and weave, and what projects could be shifted if we needed an additional 150 spaces?
So I'll give you the short answer, and specifically for Leland Road, for example, right? In the case there, as you're familiar with, part of what was described, or read between the lines, if you will, in the memo was, we received smart scale funding for a surface parking lot there, and the funding is $5.5 million. Can't go build that now for $5.5 million. And frankly, the land use around that parking lot has changed. So here's what I'll tell you is that moving forward, if that parking demand, and I'm going to say across the entire network, but specifically Leland Road, if that parking demand increases, it's likely we'll come back to this board and sooner rather than later. And one of the viable options there is go vertical. Take the existing property that we have there and actually build a parking garage, because the land use around there,
Sure,
I mean,
you're
we're locked in, right? So we've already had at some level of discussion about that. And so that's something that we're going to be watching over the next couple of months. And frankly, I'll tell you right now, put us in that position. That'd be great. We'll go make that happen, right? But in terms of schedules and stuff like that, and the other piece of that is, that's off the railroad corridor. So the beauty of that is that we construct parking garages and stuff like that. That's a project that could be somewhat independent. It's not going to mess up congestion, work windows, all that type of stuff. So, and not to tease ahead, but it's probably leaning that way. And we won't get caught off guard, trust me.
Okay, I just wanted to bring
we'll have a plan.
the whole ops board and have that conversation here, because we won't really see that. It'll be in our CIP that we vote on. But I just wanted to make sure it's on everybody's radar, because as you know, going up is a lot more expensive, but you're right, we don't have those other concerns that we have at other stations as we own the property there.
Right.
So just want to make sure we're taking all that into consideration, which I know you are.
And after our conversation yesterday, I went back, I looked at, Tuesday and Wednesday, right, at those higher ridership numbers and stuff like that. And the parking at Leland was just, let's see, on Tuesday at 10:05, we still had 320 parking spaces available. So so that's roughly about half the capacity. So if you extrapolate that, we get, say we're at 20,000 or something like that, that parking lot will fill up. One of the things that happens in that area, just for other folks, is that there's decisions made by some to either park at Leland, park at Fredericksburg, or park at Fredericksburg and park at Spotsylvania, because they're kind of equidistant or whatever. What I'd love to see is that we maximize Leland, we maximize Fredericksburg, and get some folks out there parking at Spotsylvania. So.
Can I'll get to you in 1 sec. I have a quick follow-up question on this, which is, do we have a technology vision for being able to tell riders parking capacity at these stations before they leave in the morning?
That
Let me
was
sh-
the conversation with Rich
Yeah.
yesterday. Me too.
It already exists.
As somebody who doesn't drive to the stations, I didn't know that, so that's great. I love that.
So they know how many spots are available.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah,
Okay.
yep. It's on our website. It's on VRE mobile.
I wasn't
And
aware either.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, there are 44 spots open at Fredericksburg right now. So
Wow.
we're close.
And is that relatively real time? I mean, is it,
Yes.
it's paying?
Yep.
There's parking counters in each slot, count the cars in, count the cars out, send that electronically.
Yeah.
Cellular to the information that goes right to the app.
Leland Road, there's 514 open spaces, right?
Okay,
Same things for each car, rail
Let's see
car.
what happens on Monday.
Exactly.
yeah. All right, Ms. Dr. Young.
So this was the question I was asking earlier, since you brought it up. I wanted to know if the smart scale that we're referring to, was it district grant program or was it high priority program? Funds.
Not sure if I know the answer.
I don't know the answer.
Mark, do you know the answer to
I
that?
know the answer off the top of my head, but I can find it out.
Because either way, like, we need to make sure that either the CTB, and I know in the letter it had a lot of acronyms, FAMPO and all that, so I just wanted to know how that's gonna work, because if it is high priority, it just goes back to the state, and there's gonna be problems with that. So we just need to make sure that we know what the steps are, how do we do this? And so that was my concern, so I'm talking
Sure.
about that
And
later.
since we're talking about that topic, that's a memo I sent to everybody. Hopefully you received that. Again, knowing that Stafford County, Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, and others would be a little more tuned into that, if you will. I'll just frankly say, as I mentioned, we don't foresee, even from the projections and stuff, it doesn't make sense, at least right now as we sit here today, but also to go do a surface parking lot, $5.5 million. Either our approach here, and I'll just be very simple with it, either we wanted to work with the region to see if there was a different way to move some money around and stuff like that, because frankly, we fear that we're just gonna lose it. You know, so, but anyway, Mark had something he's gonna follow up.
Just to remind everyone, we applied for that smart scale money as part of a larger program to expand the capacity on the Fredericksburg lines with a number of different projects. Dr. Young is exactly correct. We can't just move that money around on our own. We have to go to the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment and get their okay to say, yeah, you're still using that money in service of the broader program. We've done that twice already with them. Again, as things have changed with respect to TRV, we are, as long as you all, the operations board, are okay with what's proposed in the memo, then we'll take that and go to OIB and all the other stakeholders and make that proposal. So.
And then just a follow up on that. So when this is like since 2010 to now, those projects were in there, just looking at some of the background, 2010. And I think 2016, the decisions were made. But what I'm thinking, looking at the TRB and everything that we're doing here, and we don't know when something like what's happening right now with 140,000 federal employees being home, and we're talking about increasing ridership. And I know a lot of folks have to go back to the office. Are we looking at, we have these projects, do we have backup plans? Are we looking at what ifs and try to plan ahead and say, if this happens, this is what we're gonna build? So I'm just looking at, 2010, and we're talking about 2030. Can we foresee and have backup plans if this continues, this trend, because we didn't expect this, right? So are we planning to ensure that, okay, we need to build this, this, and this, because based on federal employees, contractors, these individuals, USAID, et cetera, they're not going to go back to work. So say, I'm just using this as an example. Fredericksburg folks, because they have 20% of USAID employees, they may not be riding, so therefore this parking lot should not exist, but LaFont and 7th Street should. Am I making sense? Okay.
So, yeah, so I mean, if I could, and I think partially in the interest of time and getting through.
Yeah, sure.
The issues you're raising are to some extent being considered in the update to the 2050 plan.
Perfect.
Which we're going to be seeing in this year's, we'll be getting a final update on that, which is sort of paused in light of various considerations, including transforming rail. And so as you're sort of finishing up, this presentation, if any way you can give a reference to sort of the points that Dr. Young is raising. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the things I would caution is we're months from sort of the settling out of a lot of things that, you mentioned. And so part of what I appreciate about this presentation is this is the current plan. And then perhaps, when we enter the next budget discussion, when we enter the next CIP discussion, we'll be better positioned, to have seen how the next 6 months shake out, sort of a new normal. But Dallas, if you could keep moving.
Yes, keep moving along. I just admit, before I pass over to Nick, I'll offer that, I mentioned not mutually exclusive. Each of these projects have independent utility, right? But Nick's going to show you how they benefit, how the collection of the completed projects benefit us. And it'll speak to some of the ways.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be dismissive of us as a board not talking about that. Thank you.
Very good.
Everybody remember Nick? You haven't seen him in a couple of months.
Yeah, I promise I literally have 4 slides this time, so. And to answer the previous question, so 20 minutes, exactly, thank you. To answer the previous question, the round 2 smart scale that we received, that was high priority, that wasn't district grant. So.
Okay, so it goes back to the state. That's gonna be issue, yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
So as Dallas mentioned, and then spend some time talking about the what in TRB, I'm going to talk about the why. Because we can go out and build tracks, platforms, yards, but we're doing this for something, and that's to benefit VRE and our partners at Amtrak and the freight railroads. So in the short term, and for those of you who've been on the board for a few years, you've probably seen this slide before. I presented it when I did my marathon discussion about the system plan. But VRE is going to have the ability to run up to 63% more weekday round trips, running weekend service, expanding stations, expanding yards, as Dallas discussed, as well as being able to provide service to a new Potomac yard, or excuse me, Potomac Shore station. So this is the benefits to VRE. But as I discussed in my previous presentations, there's also regional and societal benefits to this. And I just want to draw your attention to the last 2 columns on the right there. These were some of the enumerated regional and societal benefits of providing that additional service. We discussed over $16 million in annual vehicle operating cost savings. These are people who would normally be driving into work every day, but they're riding the train, and that's a cheaper option. So that's a personal, that's a household cost savings. Things like CO2 avoided, things like travel delay. And then I mentioned this at a previous discussion about the benefits of the entire expansion, the expansion to the freight network, because remember, it's not just benefiting passenger rail service. There's roughly $157 billion in 2020 benefit, annual benefit of just providing freight rail service. That's freight avoided off of I-95. And what we did is we tried to enumerate at a high level what that looks like in terms of trips avoided. That was over 4,000 daily truck trips avoided on 95. And if you put those trucks end to end, that's a lane of trucks from the Pentagon exit of 395 to exit 126 on 95 in Spotsylvania. It's 57 miles of trucks that don't travel on the nation or on the region's highway because we have fluid freight rail service. So a lot of benefits there. As I mentioned before too, we currently run 32 daily trains on a weekday. The phase 1 and 2 of Transforming Rail in Virginia will give us the capacity to be able to expand 63%. That's 52 daily revenue trains on the weekdays, and also start to expand our weekend service footprint. Our hope, and we'll have more discussions about this as Rich alluded in the system plan later this year, but by 2050, doubling that level of service and providing 20-minute peak period, peak direction headways on both of our lines to over 116 daily round trips. And you've all seen this slide before. It's Rich's favorite slide. He's told me numerous times. I think it's some of the board members' favorite slides as well, so I'll put it here too. We really see VRE as the region's future transit spine. I mean, if you look at this, this map, you can see just all the regional transit connections that are possible, and that will be made even easier as service improves. Today, it's not very easy, to be honest, to be able to take a bus to a train, to a bus, or to a metro to complete that transit trip from south to north, north to south. But in the future, with more frequent service, with more reliable service, you have the ability to essentially make a transit or airport connection or intercity rail or bus connection at almost every station in our network. That's a huge benefit to the region, to the traveling public. So those are my 4 slides. Happy to take questions, or I can sit down.
Wow. Well done.
He wanted to repeat it.
Yeah, no. It's really, these 4 slides, the amount of information, in 4 slides presented in a way that makes it easy, I think, for all of us to communicate it, back to our our prospective jurisdictions and constituents is really useful. I attended last night the Program Advisory Committee meeting at MVTC, and just on your last favorite slide, the concept of sort of micro mobility, micro transit connectivity is going to be sort of, I think, the theme in many ways. And VRE was even highlighted as one of the few transit organizations that's actually attempting to track bicycles on the train. WMATA doesn't currently do that unless the bus services. And so it was a great statistic about like the 120% increase, I think, that VRE has seen with bikes on trains. But the larger point is, and the point you're making here is, it's not just about building, capacity, but it's about helping people get to existing and future capacity in other ways, on a bike, on a scooter, on a bus. And so I think this slide will just only grow in importance, right? Because the service we have is already valuable. How many more people can we bring to it that don't need to park necessarily, or that don't own a car, but would take the train if they could get to it? So I just wanted to highlight that it's a nice, that meeting last night and that presentation on, connectivity and micromobility with this particular image is really valuable. Any other quick questions or comments on either of these? Yes, please. Yeah.
Love your slides. So when I was looking at it, I was just wondering about the AI technology that was coming in, and then the fact that you had the outlook to 2050. So I was looking at, and I was wondering if the improvement in time, could it be because we had less people jumping in and out, but with the AI and technology, I think that could even enhance it even better in the future. Have you thought about that in looking at this spine 2050, that we will be implementing that?
So planners can do a lot of things, but we really can't predict the future. So the plan doesn't get into that level of detail.
Okay.
With respect to the future of AI and the role of technology,
we haven't started this
service and at the infrastructure required to deliver that.
Thank you.
Funky.
Just a real quick question. We do have an Omni ride at Spotsylvania that goes direct to the Pentagon, but I don't see that up there.
It's
Not at the station.
At the station.
Oh, it's not
Not
at the
at the
station. Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, there's a commuter lot there
Right.
off of.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
only stations. Gotcha.
Yes, we have only also at Stafford.
Right, and
Haley and then Mr. Starr.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was gonna say the same thing, but it's not at the station. But the other thing that I was gonna say to what Madam Chair said about the 2050 plan, this shows the progression of where we are, just to offer that to the people that are new to the board, of what we've been talking about before and how it's moving forward. Now we're in a different situation, but this does show the progression of how we are on track,
No, perfect.
to where we want to project it to be. But now with the new scenario, of course, we have to go and revamp, but this does show the progression. For this slide, I'm so appreciative.
Yeah.
This isn't a quick question, but it is a question maybe for a future day or a future interim, I would say, because it's maybe a bigger conversation. But I've always been curious about the correlation between I-95 traffic and delays and the ridership increases or decreases in VRE. So I think Well, I think we have to believe, given the capacity constraints for I-95, that if anything, we're going to continue to see increased delays. And that might in turn have some future benefit to VRE. It's a curiosity. I don't expect you to have the answer, but again, interns, it's the kind of stuff maybe they should dig into and we'd see something or not.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, we'll definitely look into that now.
All right.
Part of that's getting data through hot lanes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
right.
Sure, we'll make an attempt.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Well, thank you both for the summary and the overview. I know it's useful at the beginning of the year to sort of set this up for our future projects. This isn't an action item, just information. So if anybody has other questions they have, please send them to Rich or myself and we'll get them along to staff. But if nothing else, we'll move on to 10B.
Moving on.
This is the update on the L'Enfant Station and Fourth Track project with an overview of the construction management general contractor alternative delivery method.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll introduce Dag Maui as the project manager for this program. I don't think you've spoken in front of this operations board before. So generally speaking, go easy on you the first time, not the second time. As you already seen with Nick back there. Oh, you're already ready?
I'm already warmed up. We may not get a break.
Okay. Anyway, without further ado, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Dag Maui, obviously the project manager on the L'Enfant Station and Fourth Track project. My distinct pleasure to be here to provide you with updates on this project with an overview of construction management and general contractor procurement method. So here I'm trying to just orient everyone. We are located in the Southwest Federal District of Washington, D.C. Our project starts where Long Bridge North terminates at L'Enfant interlocking, continues north towards Virginia interlocking, where the railroad splits into two. The red line depicts the Amtrak line headed to Washington Union Station. The yellow beyond Virginia interlocking is CSX line headed to Virginia Avenue Tunnel. What you see top center, the white bubble, is a proximate location of our existing station in Washington, D.C. So why this project? Obviously, you have heard about this project being, a part of TRV and with an independent utility. But for us, VRE, the existing station does not meet current and future projected service needs of VRE. So the side platform that's out there currently only serves one train, 5 cars on one direction at any given time. So our plan is to lengthen the platform, make it longer so that we can accommodate 8-car train consists out there, and also install a 4th track to add rail capacity and reduce any conflict with freight and passenger rail system trains out there. So 2 trains, 8 cars at any given time, which is consistent with VRE's future bi-directional service. We're also making ADA accessible improvements as part of this project. We're providing elevators to the platform and kind of making the station integrate with the surrounding community. As far as project timeline, we're working to finalize our 30% design. We plan to begin final design the second half of this year with a plan to break ground end of 27 and complete construction by 2029. As I said, we're working towards finalizing our 30% design. So what you see on the screen now is a draft 30% design overview. Obviously, it's a busy slide, but I want to draw your attention to the key design elements on this slide. First and foremost, that purple box that you see right at the center of the slide is the lengthened platform equipped with a pair of elevators and flight of staircase at both ends. The red blocks highlighted in red are bridge widening over 7th Street Southwest and bridge replacement at 6th Street Southwest. And I'm also showing a blue line. If I can focus it here, let's see here. Right along that, railroad right of way, and then at the entrances at 6th Street and 7th Street. Those retaining walls are necessary for structural stability as well as confining these improvements to stay within the railroad right of way. Another important feature, which is the 4th one, is the 4th track that we're adding out there. basically to our capacity, reduce conflict between freight and passenger trains. I'm also showing, typical sections through the bridge widening and bridge replacement at the bottom of that slide. I'll save you the details on those, but if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to unpack those with you. So zooming in a little bit, making improvements at entrances, like I mentioned earlier. So at 7th Street Southwest, the existing VRE entrance currently shows a flight of staircase that's covered with canopy. We're removing that and connecting, the street level to the platform by an elevator and a flight of staircase. We're also expanding the bridge, as I mentioned, to fit in that 4th track. So this and next couple of slides will have some theme to them, if you will. The left side picture will show the existing conditions. The middle and the picture to the right will show our proposed conditions. Big disclaimer here, these are just renderings, right, that show how things would look, but the final look still being worked out. So illustrative purposes in some of the design features may change as the design advances. Just keep that in mind as I go through the next couple of slides. Following the same fashion at the 6th Street entrance, we are showing the existing conditions as flight of staircase, covered canopy. This project will remove all of those and connect the street entrance with a platform with an elevator and flight of staircase, sort of semi-tunnel passageway for our riders. We are replacing the 6th Street bridge out there that's currently existing because of operational needs. Following the same cadence, at the platform level, the existing platform is a side platform, as I mentioned. We are converting that into a center platform, tracks on either side. This platform will be equipped with benches, lights, security cameras, and if you notice right there at the middle picture, we're also showing a windowed skylight over the staircase space to kind of add a layer of safety and sense of security. Alongside the engineering efforts, we're also advancing our environmental work. This project is basically for NEPA. The class of action is documented categorical exclusion. It's the lowest level of class of action for NEPA, basically used for projects that do not have any significant impact to the environment. We're working very closely with DC SHPO and our consulting parties as far as Section 106 is concerned, and it culminates at the execution of a memorandum of understanding or a programmatic agreement that would be signed between us and DC SHPO and other signatories. Basically, it's a list of commitments that we have to preserve historic resources that are impacted as part of this project. Going forward, I have this slide to kind of give you a flavor of stakeholders that we work with. Being in Washington, DC, this project basically attracted a lot of stakeholders, not only just agencies with plan review or permanent authorities on the project, but local businesses as well as community, neighborhood associations and community assemblies. So to date, I'm really proud of what we've done as far as public engagement and stakeholder engagement as far as this project is concerned. I like this slide because it kind of lays out our public engagement efforts in parallel with our engineering and environmental efforts. So far, we've had very successful working group engagements, 3 to be precise. They are recorded and available for consumption on our website. We also conducted 1 consulting party discussions, but several public engagements, including the meet the management for VRE, working alongside with VPRA colleagues out there, getting the word out, out to lunch or bike to work days, tagging along and updating our stakeholders. Couple of working group meetings are slated to happen this spring. Additional public engagements will happen before we finalize that 30% design. And just to mention, a couple of weeks ago, we had an open house in Washington, DC at Walmart headquarters. It was well attended, attracted several industry professionals, especially the contractors. So really happy the handful of writers also attended there. Before I move to the next slide, it's basically we talked about design, stakeholder engagement, environmental aspects of this project. So to help you visualize how everything comes together, I put together a 3D animation as a visual aid for you. So about 90 seconds. Let's see if this works. There you go. So again, keep in mind that, all the renderings, the paintings, the finishes, they're not final. It's just putting it together to give you an idea of how things would look in a 3D sense of the project. So what was highlighted was the fourth track. This is an overhead view, obviously. Bring it down to a street level. This is at 7th Street Southwest.
It is not that clean.
In the future, it will be.
I know, right? Future is sexy, AI.
So we're taking that flight of staircase up to the platform level. Island platform tracks on both sides of the platform. Taking the flight of stairs down, what you see right in front of you is the elevator. Bang the left, you're out to 6th Street Southwest. We'll zoom out. That's the bridge over 6th Street that we plan to replace as part of this project. Omada HQ on your left, the Virginia Avenue Southwest masonry wall, and the gracious VRE train.
Historically speaking.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how things would look. Again, this is a rendering. It's a visual aid to help you kind of see how things come together. But I'd like to take a brief pause here and see if there are any questions regarding the project.
We do have a version of this and with a musical overlay. I think that's what Ozzy Osbourne train. We have that available too.
The Quad City DJs. Now, you guys remember that one? Come on, that train. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
AI. I really appreciate three things. One is the widening of the platform. That's safety and ADA also. I think that's good. And the elevator addition, it's way overdue. The other thing, the signs. Y'all are really good at creating signs, right? Will this be like complicated for our customers to kind of understand how things are changing? How's the signage going to be?
Yeah, so we have standard guidelines for signage around our platform stations. This would be probably next to Crystal City, one of our island platforms. But so far, our standards lay out things very clearly, and those signs will be posted at a conspicuous location so that people can find their way around our station. But there will be some public engagements in the future too that will demonstrate how the circulation will work out there as we advance our design.
Yeah, as we're transitioning, and I know that y'all are excellent at the signage, but I say that because of the changes, and probably a lot of our customers that are ADA need to be ADA serviced.
Yeah.
This will be a kind of a change for them, so that's why I mentioned that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Bonke and then safety.
I just wanted to say that, in light of Fredericksburg's big platform being redone, I know that there have to be, and I don't want to know what they are, but you have lessons learned from all these projects. So tell me that you collaborate on all those lessons learned so we don't repeat them.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just at the staff level.
Right.
It's collaboratively with our different stakeholders, including
Sure.
the professional engineering teams and stuff. So, oh yeah.
Okay.
We don't mind learning from somebody else's.
Right. Right.
Stay.
These things are permanent for the next 30
Yeah.
years.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Young?
So for a person that works in DC and know all of this, I was just wondering, is this somehow connected as a hub or just a platform? And I know that 7th Street is the red line hub, so where are you pulling, you trying to pull the folks that are coming to Virginia? And where are you pulling them from? Are you coordinating that? I'm sure you are, project manager, but.
Let me answer it this way right now. So LaFont Station, historically and even currently, is our largest destination station. The majority, and I'm not saying all, but the majority of folks that utilize this station, the reason why it's so popular is that most of the places that they're going are within walking distance, right? So that's, I mean, it's just like right there, US DOT, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but we do have, there is a connection to Metro there. You have it in a couple of places. It's not directly in the station. It's just outside in that walkable path and stuff like that. So, that's the, and you're right. It's not just a destination, but a lot of folks get on there from between this station and to some degree Union Station would be that.
Yeah.
Where we're attracting folks to get them back into.
Right, yeah,
Hopefully that helps answer the question.
for sure.
But again, has always been VRE's largest destination station.
Yeah.
So it's,
No, we'd be trying to catch it,
Anytime.
like, there it goes. You gotta jump. So,
Right, if you'd like to continue on the.
Yeah, sure.
wrap it up there. Oh, I'm sorry. You said you had one more.
No.
Those slides there, yeah. So, I mean, the following slides will basically focus on the construction manager, general contractor approach, procurement approach. Think of procurement mechanism as, multi-tool, which each method of procurement is kind of a different tool designed to tackle a set of challenges in the project delivery process. So what I've laid out there is the design bid build process versus the CMGC process. Design bid build is a very common procurement method. It's a linear process usually used for less complex projects. The owner completes the design to 100%, then advertises / let the bid out, award a contract, and the contractors will start construction out there. Whereas in the CMGC approach, two things can happen in tandem. The owner can hire an engineer of record, advance the design towards 30%, while procuring, prospective contractor early on to provide input and refine our design of higher levels, say for example 60, 90, or 100% say. So it lends itself to a greater level of collaboration between the owner, the designer, as well as other stakeholders throughout the process. Here, what I'm trying to highlight is the hiring process follows basically a standard RFP two-step process. It's qualification based, so gives you the opportunity to evaluate qualifications of prospective contractors before we bring them on board. Also, there is that transfer between the owner and a CMGC. But also, please keep in mind the pre-construction and construction phase that's involved in the CMGC process, which I'll get into here on this slide a little bit. Obviously, the major value that you get from a CMGC procurement is having a contractor on board early on so that they can provide input on, fabrication or constructability reviews, so value engineering, stuff like that. Things, if left, unresolved, could result into a costly change orders down the road. And that phase one, actually, we work towards getting into a guaranteed maximum price with our CMGC so that there's that certainty of cost for the project as well. But in the rare chance that we don't, there's off-ramping strategies that are available for us too, meaning at that point, we'll just go ahead and advertise the project. We have worked through the hardest part of, managing the risks, getting into the sequence, the phasing. Some of those uncertainties will be resolved before we get there. So we'll have a better package that we can advertise for other contractors to bid. Phase two is the construction phase. At that point, the CMGC becomes the builder. We have a guaranteed maximum price that we have agreed on, and they turn basically from an advisory role to a builder. That said, I think next steps with regards to this, we think the CMGC approach is, we're considering this as the best option for the L'Enfant project. So we'll come back to you guys with seeking your authorization to award a GPC consultant contract and task order. And depending on the findings of that feasibility study. If it's justified, we'll seek your approvals to recommend that approach be utilized for this project to our commissions, and then come back requesting, again, additional authorizations to advertise the RFP, and award of CMPC contract. That concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, happy to answer them.
More to come.
No, thank you for the presentation. Before I, Ms. Hayes or Mr. McLaughlin, do either of you have questions or comments on this item?
No questions.
No, nothing other than this is important to everything that we're doing with regard to Long Bridge and other projects to bring capacity to Northern Virginia and DC.
Exactly. No, I appreciate that. And I think what this presentation coming right after the prior one does is bring home that delivery deadline of 2030 for everybody, all those projects. And this one with the delivery in 29 is sort of, one of the key pieces to make the Long Bridge delivery in 2030 pay off functionally. So I appreciate having these two things presented back to back. And I just wanted to second Ms. Baumke's point about the bridge construction. So between your bridge and this one is the Alexandria Bridge replacement project. So I am hoping that the more of these that, VRE is a part of, the better, the process gets, and with lessons learned. So, just wishing good luck and continuous improvement in that regard. Any other comments or questions in the room on the L'Enfant project? No? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Very much.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move into next a closed session. Nope. I skipped the spending authority report.
I'll just say this is a spending authority report. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now or contact me later. But this is just the standard report that we provide.
Did anyone have questions on the spending authority report? Ms. Hayes or Mr. McLaughlin?
No questions.
All right. So we'll consider 10C informed and we'll move on to item 11, which is the closed session. Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, and to the crowd, pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711-A1, the Code of Virginia, I move that the VRE Operations Board convene a closed session for the purpose of discussing one personal matter relating to the performance of the VRE General Counsel and Chief Legal Officer.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you, Ms. Holmes. All those, actually, do we take the vote when we come back?
No, we vote on this motion.
On this motion. All right. So all those in the room in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Ms. Hayes, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
All right, so the motion passes. We're going to enter closed session. Let's take about a 4-minute break. Let them transition electronically, and we'll restart at 10:34.
So they'll transition you and then just go. You need me. Just give. Oh, sorry. I should have let you know. We had a train full of them out there. Next time.
Are we back online? Okay. Mm.
Are you doing all right on time?
We've got some numbers. We're starting to turn into pumpkins, so we're going to try to move it along. Yeah.
I love that phrase.
Turn into pumpkins.
Yeah, it's a cool phrase. Good to go.
All right, Ms. Bailey, if you would bring us back.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. The VRE Operations Board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge and with no individual member dissenting at the just concluded closed session. Only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened were heard, discussed, and considered. Second.
Yeah, is there, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing no discussion, do you want to start the roll call?
Yes. Ms. Bagley?
Aye.
Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Ms. Baumke?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Holmes?
Aye.
Ms. Luna? Aye. Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Mensing?
Aye.
Mr. Stork?
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw? Ms. Young?
Agree?
And that motion carries.
All right, the motion carries. All right, thank you, everybody. Before we move into operation board members' time, I wanted to share some information with the public, which we've sort of just touched on in the closed session, which is the upcoming retirement of our general counsel, Mr. Steve McIsaac. I want to take a moment, I don't know whether that's an applause or just a moment of recognition.
I'm leading the class.
Yeah. But being relatively new to VRE, it's been incredible to hear about some of the people who have served this organization for decades, and Mr. McIsaac is part of that long history. And we really appreciate as a board what he has contributed to the creation and the ongoing success of the organization, and also just the wisdom I think it takes to know a good moment to move on. And I think that's what he's tried to identify for us, is a good moment to be a part of supporting the next phase. And so one thing that I want to just publicly discuss now before we wrap up for the day is our intention to create a recruitment committee. I appreciate several board members who have already volunteered to serve on that committee, including Ms. Holmes, Ms. Bomke, Mr. McLaughlin, Mr. Walkinshaw, and Ms. Bailey. So I think we have a nice cross-section of commissions and roles and people who have participated in the past. So at our future meetings, we'll have a little more structure to how that recruitment committee will work. We will have further information at the next NBTC and PRTC meeting as to how this process will play out. But again, thank you to Mr. McIsaac for his many years of excellent service to this organization and to the region. We really appreciate it. With that, I will pass to board members' time. To my left, Ms. Bailey.
Oh, what a wonderful meeting. It was a great meeting. I appreciate the presentations and stay safe and warm.
Thank you. A conversation with Rich about 2 months ago, and he mentioned something that really has stuck in my mind, and particularly somebody who grew up with this and spent time with their kids. And he talked a lot about how he would come in on Wednesday and have a wacky idea, right? Something that just would throw people off a little bit, but also at the same time was creative and got people thinking about how they can do their work and be more creative and more make a difference more. And particularly with VRE and what we've been through the last 4 or 5 years, with the creative thinking that we needed, especially passenger recruitment and looking at how we can do what we do differently, it's been an important part, I think, of what is going to make VRE continue to be successful. And I mentioned to him at the time a book that I used to read to my kid called Wacky Wednesday. That's the name that they called it. And so I wanted to present this Wacky Wednesday Dr. Seuss book to Rich and to the folks at VRE. And as I wrote in here, well, now I have my glasses on. So. Rich, thank you for your leadership and helping to create a culture that embraces different thinking and new approaches to safety, passenger growth, and continuous improvement. Best always to you. So
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I took in Durango for the Polar Express. They have a Polar Express train, and I know that's something you all do something similar. So it's just a way of saying that.
Oh.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir, for saying that. I was in the class as well. It's just for clarification purposes. Staff reduced me down to just 1 day a week. Okay?
Like you have to
Be out of control, but
too much.
he goes, guys back there, see, it's official now.
It's a great book. It really is. It's a wonderful way of thinking about the world a little different.
Mr. Walkinshaw, what do you have for us?
Steve and other opportunities to talk about what he means and has meant to the VRE. But just want to thank him for his service and the work he's going to continue to do for us over the course of this year. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
I've said enough.
Well, I know NBTC will need to be finding a new attorney as well. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I just got here. How
Don't take it personally, Ms. Vasquez.
Because of you.
I understand. No, but thank you. I mean, I'm so happy about everything that is happening, you know. I'm here for the whole, you know, thing, but, you know, Manassas is just, you know, and dear to my heart, and it makes a difference. I know it's been a long time, so I cannot thank you enough for the meeting and also to connect with the correct people. And, you know, I'm just looking forward and continue to work and I believe, you know, leadership is about, you know, making sure not only that you work hard and then, you know, you live it and build it, it's better than it was, or yeah, but also, you know, living that legacy that, you know, that you have someone that's continue. So I, you know, as a board member, I truly appreciate it because even though I have, you know, I don't know you, you know, that much as I wish I did like they do. But, you know, thank you because that shows me a lot of who you are. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to pretend that I know. Thank you, thank you. And thank you for the way how you're retiring. In other words, you're a good servant of the community, and you're serving all the way through, making sure that you pass the baton before you go have a good life. Like I said earlier, let us know what your wife needs. So
That's good.
Appreciate
Spunky.
I'm not going to echo the comments from everybody else, but you deserve to retire and thank you for all your leadership. And I'm really thankful for everything you did with Norfolk Southern last year to really move that along and to move it very quickly with Rich. I know you guys worked a lot on that, and because that was a game changer for us. So it's really very exciting just to see the Long Bridge and the presentations that were done today, you know, with TRV and DMV moves. I mean, it's all just kind of coming together. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So thank you for that little tidbit that you know, that Sarah asked about parking yesterday, because I asked Rich, well, if I drive over to the Leland lot and it's full, he goes, you won't drive over there because it's already on the mobile app. So I know there are a lot of things that the staff is doing that we're not aware of, and we don't pick up on every, you know, nook and cranny in every presentation. But thank you, because you're thinking out of the box. Obviously, the Wacky Wednesdays have paid off, and thank you.
I'm sure it was a wacky Wednesday idea somewhere back in there. Yeah, great.
All right, well, I think that's a great note to end on. Oh, Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry, Ms. Hayes, did you have any comment?
No comment. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. McLaughlin?
I just want to say real quick, Steve, you've been a good partner to work with, and I'll admit at times we're doing agreements, VPRAs, VRE. You've been tough, but fair, and I know you take that with great respect. So you'll be missed, and it'll be tough for someone to fill your shoes.
Very true. Well, yeah, that is a great sentiment to end on. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.